stay fly, stay fly, stay fly.
And some of you remember the economy really was struggling. And so in my case, I lost my stores. I lost my business. I lost my home. I lost my family. I lost my marriage. I lost a lot of things that my ex-wife got in the divorce. So at least I know where those went.
Stay fly, stay fly. You're listening to The Fly Guy Show. They do everything on the fly and in such a fly manner. Stay fly, stay fly, stay fly, stay fly.
All that party. The views expressed on the Fly Guy Podcast by the guests of the Fly Guy Podcast are only the views of the guests, unless we say we agree, unless explicitly stated.
Hey, this is Ernie Thomas here on the Bold School Podcast. You're listening to Psycho Vonner's Fly Guy Podcast. Support, like, subscribe, and share. He's saying some good things. Share it. Don't keep it to yourself.
All right. Do we have your agreement, adults?
Yes.
Okay, good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, our first speaker for tonight, Mr. David Nygaard.
Walking around, goodness. Seiko, it was a great privilege to be on the campaign trail with Seiko. We had a great time, and he's a great man. I'd really like to see him run again in the future. So he's great. Now I really appreciate being here at Green Run. I don't think I've been in this library since I took SATs here back in 1981, and I was here in 1978, 79, building these tennis courts out here. So it's always nice to be back here. I'm David Nygaard, and some of you know me. I don't know. Some of you know me from the jewelry business. Does anybody old enough to remember me from the jewelry business? Okay, great. So some of you probably don't know, but I might have been one of these millionaire type people back in the day, because I had 7 employees, I had 7 stores. I was the Virginia Business of the Year. I worked hard at building a jewelry business, and sometimes, and I guess maybe we talk about this talk would be when the bottom drops out. Because in 2008, the bottom dropped out. Some of you remember the economy really was struggling. And so in my case, I lost my stores. I lost my business. I lost my home. I lost my family. I lost my marriage. I lost a lot of things that my ex-wife got in the divorce. So at least I know where those went. And so I survived that. And then a few years after that, I had a heart attack, and it was kind of a wake-up call. And so I was kind of on the bottom. I was at the very bottom, kind of down, but I had to kind of claw my way back. And so it took some time to rebuild my business. And over the next few years, I was able to do that. And then following the heart attack, I was able to, it made me think, what do I want to do with my life that would have more impact? And so I decided I was going to run for Congress. And, they talk about, soaring like an eagle or a bird. And what you don't realize is when you're soaring is people like to shoot at you. And so you've got to be prepared when you're soaring high. You're an easy target. And so started to run for Congress, and we had a good effort, but we didn't make it on the ballot. So I had to deal with that failure. And a few days later, I really felt called to run for Virginia Beach City Council. So began the campaign for Virginia Beach City Council. And that's a tough challenge. That's where I really met Seiko on the campaign trail, and was able to get through that. And so we won in November, and I was talking with Vice Mayor how you after campaign, you can take a break, right? Well, in my case, we had the closest race in Virginia Beach history. So we went to a historic recount. There are 3 races that went to the recount. Mine was the closest. I won by 163 votes. And so not only did I finish the election, but I had to rush off to recount. And little did I know it, but my opponent was funding some other lawsuits, so I had to deal with about 3 or 4 other lawsuits. And then following that, he challenged to have me not sit in the seat. So I thought my first council meeting I was going to have to bring my own chair, because he was trying to keep me out of my seat. And he took a lawsuit to try to file to keep me from being sworn in. And so we won that lawsuit. And then just this last week, we had another lawsuit that came out, and he's challenging me because I happen to have 2 homes, and they want me to use my other home as a residence as opposed to the one that I actually live in that I use as my campaign residence. And so the challenge is that when you're trying, you've just got to keep trying. You can't give up. And I guess this is a group of faith, and I guess maybe this verse will maybe mean something to you. It says in Hebrews, therefore, since we have so great a cloud of witnesses gathered around us, let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, fixing our eyes on Christ, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured a cross. And then it says this, for consider him who endured such hostility against himself, that you do not grow weary and lose heart. And I think that's one of the things we have to do, is remember what he did in terms of suffering and not lose heart when we're having to go through trial after trial. I don't want to take a lot of time, but I just thought I would open up for some questions if anybody has any. I see a lot of young people here. One of my great joys in life was being able to teach at Chowan University. I taught entrepreneurship, and one of my passions is small business. So does anybody have any questions, or I'd be happy to answer anything. Oh, you give me, okay. He's a plant, guys. He's a plant. Oh, what is the ugly part of leadership? And I think perhaps the ugly part that I've seen is sometimes leadership really competes with power. And when you're trying to challenge the existing powers that are there, you can be a great leader, but it's the power that comes against you. And you've really got to stand up to that. And you've got to stand up to it on principle. And that's the challenge, because you want to, your natural instinct is want to strike back and fight. But I think we need to learn to stand up with power. And you know who Martin Luther King was a great example of that. Standing up and with dignity and strength of character, and standing up to the powers that be. I think that's really the challenge. Any other questions? I don't think we have any more plants, do we? Any more plants? No, maybe not.
Stay fly, stay fly, stay fly.
How many here are from Virginia Beach? Okay. I see a lot of young voters out here. It's the next election. So when I run next time, I'm counting on you guys, all right? All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. David Nygaard, one of my good friends.
Stay fly, stay fly, stay fly, stay fly.
The views expressed on the Fly Guy Podcast by the guests of the Fly Guy Podcast are only the views of the guests, unless we say we agree, unless explicitly stated. Stay conscious. Stay fly.
Stay fly, 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 stay fly.